How is everyone doing? So this is kind of important. There's a video that was recently taken down by the WEF on their own site, in English at least anyway. I've procured a copy of it and someone else out there has too, probably a lot of people hopefully. Archiving this stuff is important because they do tend to take it down from time to time. And they do so for a very specific reason. It's because it's getting ratioed so badly and it's so detrimental to their reputation that they have to get rid of it. I've seen this happen before. No coincidence maybe with Microsoft actually last year, roughly around this time, maybe a little bit earlier. He had put up a video of what their new Gen 4th sort of industrial revolution technology was going to be like. And what's her name? Milena Jovovich, the chick that was into spirit cooking. So maybe I should pop that up quick. I was going to and I forgot. So if you don't know who I'm talking about, I will show you quickly. There she is. And so she was doing some really bizarre satanic type ritual stuff with Hollywood, making all of these bodies made out of cake and everyone would cut them apart and eat them. It was just some really super bizarre stuff. But anyway, Billy Gates decided it'd be a good idea to have her star in his commercial. Now he claims, oh, I didn't know after it got taken down, but that video got ratioed hard. There was like so many people trolling the comments that they ended up taking it down, and I believe that that is what happened in the case of the English version of this video. Now this still appears on their actual site. They didn't take down the Spanish version. It's not quite getting ratioed as hard for some reason. A lot of people seem to like it over in the Latin speaking world, South America I believe, but you can still see Nuevo Orden Mundial. I'm pretty sure he's talking about New World Order still too yet, so I mean it's not like people aren't in on him. And I don't speak Spanish. I could take and translate all these if I had time, but I went through them a little bit and there's definitely you know, people showing their displeasure with it. One English comment. But anyway, there's probably more, but nonetheless, we're not going to spend all day looking at that. So, I mean, at any rate, they've left this up for now, but maybe it'll come down in the future, so who knows. Because they did take this one down. We're going to watch this quick lack, and we'll go over it a little bit. And I think that I've developed a plan as I was messing around watching this stuff and playing today. So, we'll fucking discuss this as it goes along. You'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Okay? Ridiculous. Only the future generation that I guess we're in now with Generation Z or whatever it is would be interested in this stuff. They're the ones who blame everything on boomers, can't get ahead, and blame it on the wrong people. And in the reality is it's it's like the Federal Reserve and other institutions in countries around the world that are putting everyone under so much financial strain that it's hard to get ahead in your country anymore. And sanctions being put on oil and other primary industries also make it difficult for anyone else to have a go. So at any rate, it's that generation that would go for this. So this isn't going to happen all at once, but it will start to happen, especially in metropolises where there's tons of these kids who don't have a hope because there is no money for them to make because corporations have taken everything over and they only pay you minimum wage at best. Bezos gets rich, whoever else, Waltons get rich, and you get fuck all. You get nothing, and you've paid for your own slavery with it, unfortunately, by shopping at places like Walmart, Walgreens, Target, Canadian Tire, etc., right? So, at any rate, we'll move along. Whatever you want, you'll rent, and it'll be delivered by drone. So, one thing I was thinking about in regard to this is that a lot of places are going into a lockdown just prior to Christmas, and despite what they say about the cerveza virus, I think that based on what I read the other day, I should almost have that up, but at any rate, Klaus Schwab is writing in his book about CO2 emissions. He had already had it written up in a book from measurements that they'd taken earlier this year regarding the lockdowns. and he said it wasn't enough, that there needs to be more. So I think this is an experiment, in all honesty, where they're going to see what it's like with the CO2 input when everybody is forced to stay home and maybe not go out and do as much Christmas shopping all at once. Maybe more people will just order, and then they'll measure emissions, and maybe that'll be a marker for them. I think this is all just an experimental year because the environmental thing is a big deal they're pushing. So it could be linked to that. So anyway, moving along. That's also no generational wealth. You can't pass tools on or anything else. You're just going to rent everything, so you can't inherit anything. That's another thing that all this will work into. So, the U.S. won't be the world's leading superpower. Well, right now, what we're seeing is, in my opinion, the election in the United States is being hammered by this organization. I'm sure most people probably watching this already know that Biden, Boris in England, Trudeau here in Canada are all talking this Build Back Better stuff, and this is where it's directly coming from. The UN, the WEF, the WHO, all of these organizations are working together in tandem, and liberal governments around the world are taking over unfairly so that they can push this new agenda through in the name of basically saving the planet. Now, whether or not that's a reality or not is highly contested. Personally, I don't believe it's happening myself, but that's something I'll try to get in some videos with. So anyway, yeah, destruction of America. They have to get it out of the way. Trump speaks out against them at Davos, and we'll have a video of that at some point too. A handful of countries will dominate. These are going to be all the top countries in the United Nations. Now, okay, so America is still in there, although they've pulled out. Now, maybe this isn't representative of it, but we can also see Turkey in here, Denmark in the back, it looks like. I don't know whose flag that is, but we've got some Unitarian countries involved in this stuff too. In one of my other videos I showed that the United Nations voted against Hong Kong's freedom to China. So, I mean, again, this stuff should all concern people. Despite the utopia they're trying to make this look like, this is the video that they took down because it got ratioed so hard in the English version, where North Americans are starting to wake up to this more than, say, other people around the world are. Now, I don't know how many people are going to get in on that technology. Seems to me that's probably not cheap, although maybe it'll become cheaper over time. Maybe something like that would be cool. It is pretty futuristic, but, you know, how much organ harvesting do they have to do potentially in the first place, or stem cell gathering in the first place that they have to do to create this kind of stuff? And I've already seen another video where they created a jawbone in one of their videos, and it was absolutely because of stem cells, and I'd like to know where the stem cells came from. Sigh. You'll eat much less meat. So, I mean, obviously that's a big thing getting pushed, and it's another thing that this pandemic has harmed. A lot of meat places ended up shutting down for periods of time, making it more difficult to procure, and prices went up. It hit really hard where I live. I just looked at the price and I thought to myself, like, you know, you're doing this. You know that all this is sitting here for an absorbent amount of money, that, you know, no one's going to buy it. And I mean, I think the roast was like $30 or $35 or something that would have normally cost 20. Now the prices did regulate, but again, these are all stress tests and things like that going on, in my opinion. So, for the good of the environment and our health. Now, another thing about it not eating as much meat is that it also will lower testosterone, and an increase in soy, which I believe will come to fill the gap, will raise your estrogen, and we'll end up with more of those guys who smile with their mouth wide open, who will never rise up against anything. They don't have it in them. They've been soyed. Soy boys are a real deal, and it's actually not cool, and they think it is, and it just isn't. They wonder why they don't get women, no matter how much they simp for them. We have yet to see this happen. They've been talking about this for 40, 50 years now. Trump addresses it. The wizards of climate fear, you know. I mean, They've said that all kinds of crazy stuff is going to happen, and none of it ever does. Their models are always flawed. Professor William Happer, we're going to look at him. He talks about this stuff at length, and the science he talks about makes sense, and he actually talks about the science to you, not like the UN scientists who don't talk to you about any science. Instead, you get Greta Thunberg and, oh, what was the other girl? That's another video we'll have to grab too. There was another girl like 20 years ago who also spoke for the United Nations, and she said basically the same kind of stuff Greta did. So they're using emotion and propaganda to try to get you to buy into this narrative. Don't kill the children, right? I used to believe it myself. I hate to admit it, I used to be a liberal. And in a sense, I believe I still am in some ways, but not other ways, because I see the lies that they've been putting on us for so long now. And this is another big thing that's coming, and COVID is going to bring the refugees, COVID migrants. Some of my other videos, if you've been watching or not, talks about the COVID quarantine camps being erected in all provinces in Canada to receive people, and we are now boosting our refugee level by 50,000 a year to make up for this last year that we've fallen behind, apparently. So I mean, it's going, and I just can't stand all the liberals who said, oh, it's only the United Nations offering a suggestion through the migrant policy, when I was arguing with them. And you know, here it is. It's like, that's the problem with policies, is that you don't even have to make a law. A policy overrides a law. So problematic. Now, whether or not charging polluters anything will lower their emissions is debatable. Business has to be done. I suppose it might push you into trying to use alternative energy, but how well does some of this alternative energy work? Michael Moore caught a lot of flack for showing that it's not all that it's made out to be. And, you know, so that kind of even starts to put them against themselves about the lie that, you know, some of the things that we're supposed to use are actually going to make any difference. Nuclear is probably going to be the way to go. Canada is working on integrating molten salt reactors, and that'll be another topic we'll talk about, because that's a thing people should be aware of, and how they operate, how dangerous they are. I think they actually are probably one of the safer ones, and it could be a job that people might want to look into too as things change, because things are going to change, and if you don't adapt, you're going to be hoopered. So, you know, if you've already got the skills to be an engineer or something, that might be a good job for you, trying to safely run a molten salt radiation generator. So now, some of this is kind of cool, okay? I'm not going to disagree with any of this stuff. I think this is kind of maybe one of the neat things they are actually doing. As much as it's okay to criticize a lot of the shit that they want to do, you know, not everywhere, not every organization is completely bad. You can find good things in them. I think this is a good thing. Now, of course, this is going to be probably done with SpaceX, who actually just did a launch, I believe, today with NASA. So they're going to be working in tandem together to try to make this science fiction space travel thing happen. And so, I mean, I agree with it. The planet's only going to live as long as the sun is, really, and then the sun is dying. So if we don't learn to leave, then we will eventually all just perish. So, I mean, this is probably a healthy thing that I could get behind. So maybe there will be a semblance of democracy with the last statement. I guess we'll really just have to see, because it does sound so authoritarian, it's hard to imagine. But at the same time, our democracy is so damn diluted right now. It's like, it's really just the illusion of choice a lot of the time. And to go back to Edward Bernays' book, Propaganda, it's all about giving the people just a few choices and funneling them into it, no matter what you're doing. It's the marketing psychology, and you're either marketing countries, wars, ideas, vaccines, fear, etc., etc. So, I mean, to me, it's like, if they had good ideas, people would just go for them. And they always seem to have this Dr. Evil way of doing things where it's always clandestine, it's always got lies behind it, and it's always their way or the highway. And it just tends to undermine the humanity of the people who fund all of this stuff. So moving along anyway, too, I started to come up with a little bit of a plan of what maybe we can do, because I've been thinking about that. I mean, there's all kinds of places to go look for the problem, everywhere, you know, all kinds of places. This guy's really good. I'm going to pin some of his videos to my channel in a folder, because I highly recommend him. I've learned a lot from this guy. Some of the stuff I already knew, but some of the stuff I didn't, and he's been working around the clock. He's in Ireland. Perhaps he's stuck at his computer, and he is highly motivated because things suck super bad over there. I might not be as motivated as I should be because things are pretty good where I am right now. I don't like it, but I still feel comfortable. So that's the unfortunate part of human nature, is that we usually don't wait until things are bad enough to finally do something. And unfortunately, in this case, it could be too late about certain things. So what I believe the goal is going to be is, you see how highly ratioed this is already. People know likey. There's lots of, negative comments towards them. And so that's going to keep them on their toes. And if we can start to pressure them enough, to maybe start taking down more videos and keeping a record of that, we can perhaps start to spread that message around. Like I said, I'll be recording a lot of these videos myself so that they never disappear. 8 years from now, when this is all said and done, and perhaps they've done a grand sweeping of things that were incriminating against them, I'm hoping to have a nice collection of it to keep it going. So, yeah, I mean, let me look at other videos. See, ratioed. We need to boost this. That's the plan.
Good afternoon.
Ratioed. No one wants this, or at least not in the form that it's coming. So we might have the power to alter the way that it is. That's probably the best thing we can do. Like it or not, we are moving into the future. That's inevitable. We have been our whole existence. I regret nothing in regard to that, because I'm happy with where we are now when I look at history. I'm really disappointed in people who are all pissy about the way things are when they live in a country where even the poor are fucking 200 pounds overweight and they're complaining about how hard they have it. It's ridiculous. There's just no appreciation, but so we'll try and shape the world by going after them. That's what I'm going to start Space Fleet up to be now. That's going to be the new plan. So I'm going to start putting videos out there on methods on how to do it, and we're going to start getting this done. So when that starts coming out, I want everyone to help. I'm going to be out there spreading it around like someone going around putting flyers under windshield wipers. That's how I've gotten most of you already anyway on the channel. I went around and I advertised, and some of you like what you hear, and I appreciate the support because it pushes me to do better. So that said, I always forget to tell people watching to like, share, and subscribe if you think that this is a worthwhile project and that it could go somewhere. Our biggest power is our voice. That's why they're constantly trying to silence us. We will not allow that to happen. I'm going to also put a link to my BitChute account, and it's something I should have been doing more often early on. A little bit lackadaisical sometimes. Again, it's not enough pressure for maybe someone like me to really get serious on the offensive, but it's coming now, and I know a peaceful way to do it, so we're going to fire it up and start making it happen while we can. So anyway, that's my video for now, and we'll have more to come this week. I'm trying to keep some momentum going here. I get depressed sometimes. I hate to admit that. I've got the ADHD, and depression and anxiety are part of that shit. It's pretty funny, actually. I've got one thing I want to read that a buddy of mine sent me, because we're both the same. He's like, this is me. And I'm like, dude, that's me too. It's like we sit around and we ham about this stuff all the time. For like over a decade now, like probably 2 decades or something like that. And, finally, it's like, okay, it's time to actually start doing something here, because shit's getting close and we've been sitting around gathering knowledge and sharing nothing. So, I mean, I know I'm just another voice in the game, but everybody, picks who they like, and so hopefully people like Base Space Fleet, and hopefully more people will like Base Space Fleet as they come and join it up. So anyway, here's the ADD routine, the daily routine. Wake up, Do fucking nothing for 5 hours. Panic. Do stuff in a panic for 1 to 2 hours. Hyperfixate on doing one thing for 4 hours. The wrong thing. Existential dread. Make pact with myself to break out of this pattern tomorrow. Repeat pattern tomorrow. Now, I know I can get out of this rut, and I have gotten out of this rut, but, you know, that's the way life is sometimes when that's the way your brain operates. And they put that on me as a disease when I was, like, in grade 6. He's got ADD, ADHD, whatever. He needs to be on Ritalin. I had just hit the age that when they finally drugged me in through the school and everything to get me looked at by a psychologist, I was like, or actually a psychiatrist, because they wanted to put me on Ritalin. I was like, nope. And I just turned 13, so I had the right to deny it, and that's a good thing, because once you get on that stuff, it's a dependency drug. You have to stay on it, so I'm so glad that I didn't take it. I look at my ADD as a blessing. Now, yes, I can be all over the place, but I know lots of things, and I believe it's easier for me to web everything together by just having a mind that works like that. I also look at it as kind of a hunter mind, where it's like you're in the forest and yeah, you're hunting, but you're also got to be aware of your whole surroundings, so you're always gauging things around you. And if something more interesting than what you're already doing comes along, that's what you should be doing as a hunter, man. So, you know, that's just some thoughts I have about myself. I'm not bragging or anything, but I like to talk about myself a little bit. And I want people to maybe get to know me a little bit better. This is going to be a community, and we're going to go and we're going to start assaulting the World Economic Forum together, and it's going to be awesome. So anyway, I hope you appreciate this video. I know they run long. I hope people like it. I'm hoping to maybe even get the guts up to start doing like a live stream once in a while with maybe a couple people that I chill with, and we can all have a nice big talkaroo, and you know, we'll boost our morale, we'll boost our strength, we'll boost our numbers. I think that sounds good, don't you? Alright, so like, share, subscribe. Peace out.